As I've progressed through the years, I've realized that in our own way, we all impact others. We might never know how we impact others. There are some instances where I have people's words imprinted in my brain and they will never know that. Now, these may be people that I have never met, that I have read their articles, whatever the case may be, and their words will forever stay with me. If someone in my life said something that really stuck with me, I will do my best to let them know. Sometimes I forget, but when I can, I will let them know. Which is why I have a really hard time believing that any of us is forgettable. And that is why I named my podcast, You Are Worth Knowing, because I truly believe that. Now, I've always considered myself a quirky person, most likely since at some point or another during a conversation, I blurt out nonsense. I say things that are silly in nature. Maybe they're a little bit ignorant. Sometimes I think I have zero life skills, and it might even come off that way. So with that being said, I tend to think that people will remember me because of things like that. Either because I have an interesting backstory or because I say something so strange and out of line that it sticks with them. So it came as a complete shock when I walked into the massage parlor last week and the masseuse that I have been seeing looked me straight in the eye and asked, "Have you been here before?" Say what now? This was my third or fourth time in the past 6 months that I have found myself face to face with her, having a conversation. And I'm not Dutch. I kind of stand out as, the American. So it's not like I don't have something that someone can grasp onto when they see my face. Now, granted, my hair changes, maybe I leave it down or up, whatever the case may be. But it's like, have you ever forgotten someone that you've talked to for 4 times? I don't think so. I didn't think that was possible. And it's not like I had plastic surgery or anything, removed my eyebrows or went blonde. No, nothing about me really changed. And yes, I'll be honest though, it hurt. And it made me wonder, am I forgettable? Because here's the kicker, right? My friend recommended me to her. And I have a strong feeling that this masseuse that we both go to regularly remembers my friend. It's simply impossible to forget my friend because she's that person, the extrovert, the bubbly one that's always smiling and talking and just has that outgoing nature. And that made me think about something else. Would this friend say the same thing about me? And then I had another thought. Does any of this matter at all? Yes and no, which is what I want to talk about in this episode of the You're Worth Knowing podcast. Here's the thing. If you're at a job interview, of course you want to stand out and be unforgettable. You want that damn job and everything that comes with it. If you're going for a massage, it doesn't really matter that much other than how it's going to impact how much you tip. The problem is if you take what you see and feel at the massage salon and bring it along to the job interview, then you're screwing yourself out of the job even before you walk into the room. Here's why. All this wondering that I'm doing about my individuality significantly increases the chance of social anxiety tagging along in another encounter, which could be even more important than getting a massage, right? Because here's the thing, this masseuse planted a seed in my head that's hard to root out. No one wants to be forgettable, especially after running into someone 4 times. I know I keep repeating myself, saying that it's 4 times, but it is really mind-blowing that she didn't recognize me. So now, clearly, I'm making it a thing in my head. And this thing makes me feel inadequate, boring, plain, unworthy, so on and so forth. But there is a way to break free from this train of thought and, not to wake up the social anxiety beast inside. So if you currently feel like this or will sometime in the future, that you are forgettable, plain, no one remembers you or what you say, here's what you do. You need to identify the secure path versus the insecure path and decide which one to take. Here's what I mean. Let's walk through the secure path. The secure path means that you're putting it on them. So the idea behind taking this path is that you take away the power that someone, that they have over you. You shift the focus back on them because they are the ones drawing a blank. Ultimately, it has nothing to do with you and how forgettable you are. Here's an example of how you can walk down this secure path. Create a backstory and place the burden on that particular person. So Let's describe this masseuse's backstory, right? So I'm making this up now as a backstory for her. You know what? We're even going to do several backstories just for funsies so you can understand what I really mean by the secure path. So backstory number one, let's call this woman Maria. Maria probably sees 4 to 5 clients a day, every single day of the week. And she's done this for several years in a row. At some point during her career, she decided she didn't want to connect with her clients since they were all unpredictable and eventually left town. She might even have been burnt by getting too close to a client. She just wants to separate the work with her personal life, right? She wants nothing to do with anyone that she interacts with at work. This, in turn, makes her oblivious to who lies on her table. Okay, so that's one backstory that we're making up to kind of explain her behavior. The second backstory could be, hey, Maria's had the worst week of her life. Everything fell apart at home, yet she still had to make her way to work. She hasn't slept in weeks and couldn't give a shit about who was paying for a massage with her, hence just going about her day automatically, not really paying attention. That's another backstory. The third backstory we can make up for her is that she's one of those people that you read about in psychology studies. She doesn't remember faces very well. She has, that syndrome. Remembers names, but she doesn't really remember faces. Now, as you can tell, you can make up an infinite amount of backstories to explain the phenomenon of you being forgettable or any other behavior that someone might exhibit towards you. So this really works with any doubts inflicted by others onto you. So every time you feel like someone's behaving strangely or you feel hurt or disappointed, you can attach backstories. You can ask them clearly what's going on. That's also a possibility. But if you don't have that connection or relationship, you can create backstories to go through this secure path where you're not placing the blame and the burden on your shoulders. Now, let's go through the other path, the insecure path. So when you take the insecure path, you choose to believe that there's something wrong with you. There's something about you that makes you forgettable. You're just a sad little plain Jane, and that's all you'll ever be. That's probably the nicest thing you're saying about yourself. But here are a couple other things that you might tell yourself while you're on this insecure path. Number one, even after 3 conversations, Maria draws a blank because, let's face it, nothing is exciting about me. Nothing stands out. I probably need to walk in here naked or painted like a dragon to make her remember who I am. So you might think that. Another thing you might say to yourself is, I knew it. Who am I kidding? I'm always going to be seen as the quiet little mouse that no one pays attention to. Not like my friend who seems to attract every single person she runs into. I will never be that cool. I don't know about you, but I've said that so many times in my life. I can't even keep track anymore. Now, as you can see, taking the insecure path means projecting negativity onto yourself as if you're the problem. Because the truth is, I will never know the real reason why she didn't recognize me. What made me forgettable. Just like we'll never know why somebody doesn't like us, doesn't text us, doesn't hire us, for example. All we can do is take control of the narrative and move on. And what do you want to bet that taking the insecure path not only doesn't let you move on, but the more you find yourself on it, the more likely that you'll actually become all those things you're thinking. We are what we think. Or was it what we eat? You know what I mean. So do yourself a favor and choose a secure path every time. As for me, I'm curious to see what massage number 5 will bring. That's it for today's episode on You Are Worth Knowing. Please follow me on Instagram at HonestRocks. You can also follow me on TikTok at HonestRocks. That is my handle across all social media platforms. And I will see you next week.